Hi, you guys. This is Michelle Thompson, and today we are finishing up our series. Well, not finishing, like totally gone, but we are doing our relationship.
Hi, you guys. This is Michelle Thompson, and today
forgot to mute. Anyways, we are doing our relationship series, and I'm starting early today because it's Halloween, and I wanted to go ahead and get this recorded. So anyways, I just want to tell you that I originally planned on doing the whole makeup thing, and I was going to dress up like a witch and everything. And right in the process of doing my makeup, I ended up smearing this black I went like this to try to correct it. It was on my fingers, and it just went all over the place. And it was a big mess. And then I tried to fix it and just made it worse. And so I went to the bathroom to go scrub it off, and it took me an hour to get all this stuff off, and I still have it like inside my hairline and everything, and somewhat on my neck, and it was just crazy. So anyways, I'm sorry about not dressing up for Halloween, but this is what ends up happening when you have to wear glasses and you can't see and you make a mistake. So all right. I really don't anticipate having a bunch of people on the live chat because it is Halloween, but I wanted to go ahead and do this. So, well, I'm surprised. Melanie, how are you? I really wasn't really expecting anybody to show up because it's Halloween. So you missed my horror makeup story. I'll real quick, I'll just kind of review over it. I was painting my face to do a witch thing, and I found this really cool makeup design that I was going to do. And as I'm doing it, I had gotten some makeup on my fingers, and I went like this to correct it, and I ended up smearing it all over my face, and oh my God, it was a big mess. And so I tried to correct it, couldn't correct it. So I ended up like going to the bathroom and said, well, I'll just start all over. And so I went to the bathroom to try to scrub it, and the stuff was like transfer resistant. So I couldn't get it off. And it was a mess. It was horrible. And I know it's because it's Halloween, and I kind of figured people probably weren't going to show up. So I'm really surprised that anybody's actually coming on. So thank you guys. So anyway, so that's my crazy Halloween makeup story that I really messed up. You can kind of see like in my hairline how I had this stuff on, and I was scrubbing it. I swear it took me an hour to get it off. It was a nightmare. It was really funny. All right, so let's go ahead and get started on this. So let me get my notes ready so I can, all right, because I made some notes here. I just want to make sure that I covered. Okay, so today, I know we were going to do a show tonight together, and we were going to dress up, and so I can just imagine, I would have been calling you frantic going, my face, it was horrible. It was so bad. This is what happens when you try to do makeup and you can't see. So anyways, all right. So continuing on the relationship series. So I was actually having a conversation with my mother, and her being very religious and everything, she started talking about a few things, and I, she kind of brought up Corinthians 13. And so I went back and I read it, and I thought that there's some really good points here. And I think a lot of people miss, they miss the point of what love is. A lot of people think love is a feeling, but love is the way that you treat a person. And so when you love somebody, you're going to do these things. So I'm going to go over, I'm not going to read the scripture. I'm just going to kind of hit the points that that Corinthians 13 hits. Okay. So love is patient. So if you find yourself in a situation where you're not being patient and you say that you love somebody, you're not really loving the person, because a loving person, or a person that is loving another person or experiencing love or being love. I hear a lot of people say, I am love. You are love if you are doing these things. If you are patient with somebody, if you're kind with somebody, Hi, Sasha. How are you? So love is patient. And this was a difficult one because most people in this day and time is not patient. Are you patient with kids? Are you patient with your husband? Are you patient with your, with your boss, with your friends, I mean, a lot of times we get really impatient with people. A lot of times that's just frustration because we can't seem to get a point across because they're not grasping the concept, because they're, repeating the same things over and over because they're not grasping it. I was, so Shane just recently started this new PI job with this new company. And this morning, he got a phone call. And I heard him on the phone with the tech person saying, okay, well, it comes to our attention that you have not combined all the video files and there's no timestamp on it. And that was the message he was trying to tell him. And the guy was being so patient. And Shane's like, I just don't understand. I just don't understand it. I just wanted so bad to I see all the black. I just wanted to jump in so bad and say something because, he wasn't grasping the concept. So I sent him a text message and said, listen, I have to leave. So I sent him a message and said, call me when you're done. So I called him. And so he called me and I said, it seems to me that what he was saying to you was really simple. So my question is, were you just lying to him and acting like you didn't understand because you really screwed up and you didn't want him to know? Or were you actually not understanding? Because the bottom line of what he was saying is you sent 10 separate files and he needed you to keep all those files in one file with all the videos on it, and it needed to have a timestamp. Did you forget to set your camera with a timestamp? And he said, and I go, it's really that simple. I'm not really sure why you weren't getting it. And he said, I don't know. I'm just so tired right now. I've been working so much. I probably just wasn't hearing him. Now, the thing is that the guy was being really patient and I was being patient with him. And the thing is that he was like, I got to grab some water. He just wasn't grasping the concept of what the guy was saying. And so it was really interesting, but a lot of times what we do, I'm looking for something here. A lot of times what we do is when somebody can't grasp a concept, we don't think about what's going on with them. We don't think about that they're tired or they're stressed or that they're just not hearing you for whatever reason. And what we do is we say, you're not listening, or, that kind of stuff. And so I'll put some flavor in my water because that seems to help when I have a little bit of a scratchy throat. So anyways, a lot of times we get really impatient with people and we don't really think about what it is they're going through. So a loving person, and when you're loving a partner in a relationship, you need to be patient with them, okay? And that's a really huge thing. And that's the thing that most people in relationships don't do. I find that most people that are having problems in the relationship get frustrated with the other person, and that's not patience, okay? So, yes, Trisha, you're getting ahead of me. Yeah, so the next one is love is kind. So what is kindness? So, I've talked a lot about kindness, and I remember when I first started to channel with this new guidance system that I have, one of the things he kept on saying was be kind, and be patient. And I was like, oh my God, it's just like every other word was out of his mouth was kind, and it was really kind of funny. And I laughed about it because he sounded like he was quoting things from Corinthians, and so I got a kind of a big kick out of it. So, but it's true. I think Trisha and I, when we were doing our show, if you guys watched it on Monday, we talked a lot about that. We talked about kindness, about just being kind to somebody, and it's kind of hard to be kind to somebody that's being kind of shitty. But it's really easy to be kind to somebody that's really nice. Like, you want to be nice back because they're nice, right? And because I'm nice, people are nice to me. Okay. Well, so I don't really experience a whole lot of shittiness. Every so often I do, just because somebody's just straight up evil. But in most of the time, I experience people being kind to me because I'm kind to them. So I'm easy to be kind to. However, that's not what this is about. Most of the time when we get in relationships, we have a lot of conflicts that we have to resolve, because you have two different people that come from two different worlds, two different cultures, two different lives, two different upbringings, two different religions, two different everything. And let's not set aside the fact that one's male and one's female, you know? And so you're looking at two different types of people. And so it's really difficult, because the other person is not always going to grasp your concept or grasp your meaning. And so what I find is that so many people are not kind in relationships. They're just mean, actually. You know, they're not patient, they're not kind, they're not, and they'll say mean things because somebody's not understanding them. I remember talking to one of my clients, and she was talking about the arguments that she gets into with her boyfriend. And I said, so when you guys are arguing and you're on two different levels, like you're just not agreeing, he thinks it's no big deal, you think it's a big deal, and you guys are arguing about it. And when he doesn't agree with you, how does that make you feel? And she said, I feel rejected. So a lot of times when a person feels rejected because somebody doesn't necessarily agree with you, you want to lash out, okay? Because rejection makes you want to lash out. So what ends up happening at that point is we start not being very nice. We are definitely not being kind, and we say some mean things. So let me just kind of check the chat room real quick. That's okay, Trisha. That's funny. Okay. All right. So anyways, we're going to go on to the next one. And by the way, I'm not going to keep you guys all night, because I know you guys probably have Halloween plans and everything. So we'll just keep on going. So love doesn't envy. You know, it's really interesting, because a lot of people don't really grasp this in a relationship, but a lot of times that's part of the problem in relationships. You really just don't think about that. So I want you to kind of think about that. Like, you envy the other person because they have attributes that you don't have. Instead of like thinking, well, you have a degree and I don't, or you come from a really loving family and I don't, or you were brought up with money and I didn't have it. Or, you know, it's like you start like envying the person. Like, you can get up and speak in front of people, but I can't. Instead of doing that, why don't you look at their attributes that you enjoy or that you like, the things that actually attracted you to that person, and see it from a different perspective instead of seeing it from the perspective of envy. So you're not going to envy them because that happened. What you want to do is you want to honor them for all these things, for their accomplishments, for their success. So that's kind of the thing that a lot of times people they do a lot, is they go into this envious state where, you know, and it causes anger, because they start feeling like their self-worth goes down because they're not as good as the other person in some way, shape, or form. Okay. I remember when I was married the first time, at the end of divorce, you know, when we were going through divorce, he made a comment to me about the things that I can do that he's never been able to do. And it was actually a compliment. And I and what ended up happening is that he never told me this. He said that the reason that he felt intimidated by me for so long, because he saw me with so many talents and so many abilities to do things, and he didn't have those things. But he had a lot of other things that he was good at that I wasn't good at. But because he saw this as like a competition or something, apparently, and it created a lot of like resentment, and he became unkind to me because of it. So when you envy somebody, you kind of get kind of shitty, and you're not treating that person with kindness. Okay, so let's go to the next one. Love doesn't boast. I see a lot of couples a lot of times where they get into this whole I did this, I clean the house, I take care of the kids, I work 2 jobs, I do everything. And it's so much boasting, it's like, I do this and I do that. And, what are you doing? And it's like, it's like, there's like, and the next one is not to be proud. It's love isn't proud. So I think they kind of run hand in hand. It's like boasting and being proud. Like, well, I do this and I do that. I bring on all the money and you just sit home and eat bonbons all day. And she's like, well, I take care of your kids all day long, and I do all your laundry, and I cook all your meals, and I prepare all your lunches. And he's like, yeah, but who's paying for the roof over your head? It's like too much boasting and too much pride that happens, instead of saying, okay, this is a partnership and we're going to do 2 different things. And it's going to take both of us to do these things. It's going to take both of us to carry this load. It's going to take both of us to make this work, because we have this whole thing. It's like an entity that has to be ran, a household that has to be ran, especially when you have multiple people, when you get married, you have children. It's like a company that, you got to run the company really well. And somebody's got to be the CEO, the financial person, somebody's, and the accountant, and somebody's got to be the manager, and somebody's, you see what I'm saying? Like, somebody's going to have to be the workhorse. There's different parts of this whole thing, and one is not better than the other. And when you get into this space where you become boastful and you become prideful, then you end up causing a destruction into the relationship. You cause problems in the relationship, and then you get into just being rude. Okay, which the next one is love is not rude. So I find that so many problems, and I get a lot of like relationship counseling with people, and in the relationship counseling, what I hear is that she'll come to me and she'll say, he's just rude to me, he's just mean, he's insulting, he says a lot of mean things. And then he comes back and says the same thing that she's doing. And it's like one gives the other permission to do it. So, I heard an old saying that if you spent 3 months just taking care of your partner's needs and just being patient, being kind, and don't get angry, and you look at what they need, see what they need help in, and you stop thinking about yourself, you'll find that person eventually starts giving back. And you do it without expectations. So if you find yourself just being rude, you need to take an inner look at yourself and say, why am I being this way? Okay. And so let's kind of flip it back around. What about the fact that, let's say you're not rude, you're a kind, loving person, and you're in a toxic relationship where the person, no matter what you do, is being rude to you. And so you're trying to be nice, but this person just constantly comes back at you because they're stressed or whatever, the reason for acting like a total dipshit is in this relationship. if you're doing all these things and you've tried the 3 months of total kindness and taking care of their needs and stuff, and that person still behaves that way, I say exit, because you're probably dealing, I'm having itchy nose. It's probably because of all that makeup that I had to scrub off, and I had to go, and I'm in my office, so I had to go use the bathroom. They hand soap to scrub my face. It was terrible. Oh my God. So anyways, if you have put that much effort into the relationship and this person isn't doing it, it's probably because they're narcissistic or they're a sociopath or something. And when you have a personality type like that, there's no winning, because they don't have emotions. They can't feel love. They only feel love for themselves, and they only thrive off of what benefits themselves. And so if you're not receiving love, if somebody's not, I don't care what they say, I love you, but I love you, after they smacked you around or hurt you or cheated on you, that's not love, okay? Love is patient. Love is kind. Love is not envious. Love doesn't boast. Love is not proud. And love is not rude, okay? And then the next one is love is not self-seeking, which goes into narcissistic and sociopaths. So I kind of think a lot of times a narcissist and a sociopath are kind of in the same category. And I can get you a cleansing stick makeup remover on the go. Do you sell makeup? If you do, oh my God. Ugh. I don't normally need that. This was because I decided I was going to paint my face for the show and do like a witch look. And I was sitting here trying to do my makeup, and I couldn't see, and I saw, like, when I blinked, it kind of caused the liquid to kind of go up, and it smeared, and I went like this, and then I got it on my finger, and I was trying to touch it up, and then when I went to kind of go like this, it ended up like, woo, and I ended up having this black all over my face, and it was horrible. So I don't normally need any kind of cleanser to take with me. This was a fluke situation. So thank you very much, Sasha. So anyways, going back to the list. Okay, so going back to love is not self-seeking. Okay, so what does that mean? When you are self-seeking, what exactly does that mean? It means that all you care about is yourself. Now, a lot of you guys, and I've found this a lot, I found it when I've done readings for people, and there's an outside exterior of wanting to be loved and wanting to be kind and all this other stuff. But the problem is you're still locked in the me category. It's me. I feel, I'm hurt. I need you to understand me. I need you to do this. I want, I feel. And this is all self-seeking, okay? Love is where you set everything aside and you care so much about that person that your love for that person foresees everything that you want, okay? I'll give you an example. I love my daughter. I love my sister, and I'm not gonna say that I don't love everybody else in my family, but I'm gonna use those two as an example, okay? Two very special people in my life that I love, okay? And my sister struggles a lot because she's got a crazy husband. And prior to that, she had a disabled child for 8 years that was on machines. And, he died at 8, by the way. And he was like, basically kind of like a vegetable. I mean, he had breathing tubes, and he had to be fed through a Mickey button, which is this thing you install in your stomach. And he was constantly the house was set up almost like a hospital. And she was like a prisoner to her own home, And so, like, if she called me up and she said to me, Michelle, My nurse called in sick. I have a doctor's appointment. I can't drive because I've got to sit in the back seat with Caleb to make sure he's okay. And so she says, Michelle, can you drive us to the doctor's office? I would drop everything. I would leave work. My boss said, he goes, when are you going to stop doing this and jumping to her every need? And I said, I'm not. And because she wasn't asking to take advantage of me, she was asking because she really needed it. And so I would stop everything and I would go take care of her because I loved her. Okay. And so I wasn't feeling self-centered and saying, well, I'm working and that kind of stuff. This is a real need. This wasn't her asking me to go to a birthday party or a Christmas party or something like that. That's not a real need. That's a want. This is something she really needed. So yeah, I dropped everything and went to her aid. And, my daughter, when she was needing help with her wedding and everything, she's like, Mom, I really need your help with something. And I'm like, okay, tell me when. And she's like, well, and all this other stuff, I need this. And I'm like, okay, I'll be there. I'll make it work. I'll do whatever I have to do. My mom was doing her wedding shower and she said, I really need you to come over the day before and help me with setting things up. And I said, okay, I'll be there. I left early from work. I was working on the weekend, so I think that was a smoke shop thing. And I left. I actually traded shifts with somebody. Instead of working a night shift, I asked if I could work a day shift so I could get over there. And I went over there and I spent the rest of the evening helping her. And then the next morning I got up early and I went back over there and made sure everything was okay. This was something my mother needed. So I wasn't being self-seeking. Okay. Self-seeking is, well, I haven't gotten any sleep and I have to work. And, you're always asking something from me. Well, what am I, it's like, if you're always thinking of yourself, then you're being self-seeking. You're like, I'm always having to do these things for you. But you know what? My sister never did anything for me for the longest ever. Okay. And not because she didn't want to, and not because she didn't love me, but because she couldn't. And, and I didn't expect anything from her because she was so wrapped up in what she was doing and taking care of this child. So, love is not self-seeking, okay? And so if you're always looking for a payoff and you're always looking for some reward, or you're always looking for somebody to come back and give back to you, that's not love. So if you're in a relationship and you think it's a tit for tat, or it's like, well, I did this for you, so now you do this for me, then you need to think twice about why you're in this relationship, because it's not a loving relationship. The relationship is not based on love. And if you want a relationship based on love, you have to be loved first. Okay. And if you want to be loved, you have to love first. You can't just show up and say, why don't you love me? You have to show up being loved. That means being kind, being patient. Hold on, my glasses are all foggy. Being kind, being patient, not envying, not boasting, not being proud. Don't be self-seeking. Okay. Don't worry about it. I didn't really even expect anybody to show up tonight, Iowa. So I appreciate you actually even being here. So I'm actually surprised that people actually have shown up. So thank you guys so much. Yeah, just watch it later. No big deal. Okay, so let's go to the next one. Love is not angered. Well, this is a really hard one, because how many relationships do you know where people don't get angry? Wow. That's a tough one, huh? That's a really tough one. But you know, the people that I really, 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 really love, I don't get angry with them. And, you know, the things that I get upset about are usually if somebody hurts somebody that I love. And that will definitely anger me. So, you know, there's been, you know, it takes a lot for me to get angry, but if I do get angry, watch out, because it's usually because you've just harmed somebody I care about. So it's all fire and brimstone from that point, you know. So anyways, love does not get angry. Right? Anger, and here's the thing, most people don't really even understand what anger is, okay? So first off, anger is a byproduct of fear. So when you get angry, you've got to ask yourself, what are you, why are you so angry? And what is it that you fear? So let's say you get angry because he cheated on you. I'm not saying you shouldn't get angry because he cheated on you. What I'm saying is anger is a byproduct of fear. So if you're experiencing anger, for whatever reason, or just take a big one, he cheated on you, so you got angry. Why are you angry? You're angry because you're fearful that because he cheated on you, he's going to leave you, or that he doesn't love you anymore, or that he's going to be giving all of his attention to somebody else. Okay, so if you get angry because, let's say you're planning a party and he knows about it, and all these people are about to show up, and you've been working all day, and you clean the house, all totally perfect, and everything. You come home, you find him, with his legs propped up, and, he's got a bag of chips and a bunch of beer bottles everywhere. And you're like, oh my freaking God, you've got this horrible mess here. And you get really angry because you don't accept that behavior. So anger is also not accepting something, okay? It's like, I do not accept that behavior. But it's also based on fear. Like, why don't you accept that behavior? You don't accept that behavior because you're fearful of something. So, what is it you fear? Like, when that happens, what are you fearful of? Well, really what you're fearful of is that somebody's going to walk in the door and see your husband acting like that, or they're going to walk in the door and see a big mess, and then they're going to judge you. And so you need to really dig into the issues that's actually causing the problem and address that. Okay. But love is not anger. Now she would never do that, but let's say hypothetically did. And I came home and I found that behavior happening. I'm not going to fly off the handle. I'm going to go, what are you doing? I have people coming over. If you want to do this whole little shin-shang thing that you're doing, can you take it into another room, because I have people coming over and they're going to be here in 30 minutes. Okay. I'm not going to go fly off the handle and start screaming. I'm just going to address the issue. Okay. So let's keep on going. You can find married people together in the graveyard and they have not angered in years. Okay, that's funny, Iowa, but you would be surprised that, the thing is that I'm not saying, when I say that love doesn't get angry, what I'm saying is that you're not being loved. I'm not saying that you don't love the other person, okay? I'm saying you're not acting out of love. You're not acting like you love that person. You're not being loved. So you're walking around here going, I'm a loving person, and you're not acting loving. You're not being loved. So I use the terminology, be the light, a lot. Be the light, be the light, be the light. And I say that because when you're the light, you're experiencing love that permeates through you. Itchy nose. Sorry, I apologize. You're experiencing love that permeates through you, and it permeates through you in every action that you do, to strangers, to people that you know, through colleagues, to clients, to your dogs, to, everything. And so all these suggestions, if you're going to be love, then that means that you're going to act patient. You're going to act kind. You're not going to be envious. You're not going to boast about your accomplishments. You're not going to act proud. You're not going to be self-seeking. You're not going to be angered. You see what I'm saying? So being the light, being love, acting in such a manner and letting it permeate through your very existence and being that. And I'm talking about it in regards to relationships right now, because relationships fail. And most relationships end up in a divorce. And most people end up getting married 2 or 3 times. I mean, I'm guilty of it myself. And the reality was, is that when I was married the first time, I wasn't being love. I was being self-centered. And I really didn't know how to love at the time. And so it was difficult, and it was difficult because I was with somebody who didn't know how to love either. And so it was challenging, and I blamed it all on him, which was wrong, but I did because I thought I was a nice person and he was an evil person. But the reality is that if he met me today and we got together, we would have a different kind of relationship, because I wouldn't be that person anymore. I wouldn't be like I was before. I wouldn't be self-seeking. And if anybody knew me back then, they would say, Michelle, you've never been self-seeking. Yeah, I was back then. I was self-seeking because I was all about me. You're hurting my feelings. You're yelling at me. You're making me feel bad. And I was seeking something from him. And instead of just giving, I would have just gave my love to him. If I would have just been a different person, that relationship probably would have lasted. Okay. So let me see what everybody's saying here. Hey, how are you doing? Litty, how are you doing? Nice to see you. I don't know if you just came in, but so, all right, so let's go to the next one. All right, so here's a big one. I hear this a lot in relationships too. Love doesn't keep count of your wrongs. Wow. I really thought about this one for a while, and I think about how when I'm talking to married couples and I hear them making a whole long list of everything they do. And sometimes when they fight, they'll go, it's just like the last time you did that. It's like you just keep on doing that. And it's like last week you did this. And then the week before you did that. And da-da-da-da-da. And you just keep on doing this, or you just keep on doing that. And you're keeping account for the wrongs. And my ex-husband was guilty of this. Every single time we'd get into an argument. And I remember reading a book about healthy arguments. and the whole thing was just to stay on track, because you want to stay on the subject. So we're arguing about a $20 bill, hypothetically. I'm just making this up, okay? So we're arguing about a $20 bill. And we're having this debate over it and everything. And instead of staying focused on the $20 bill, what he would do is he'd go, well, it's just like the last time you did this. And it's just like when you did that. And it's just like when you did that. And it would freeze me up to where I would get so upset, because he was wrong, at least I believed, in this whole argument. But instead of staying on track with the argument and trying to work through the problem would never get resolved. And he would make me feel so bad about all these other things that he ended up walking out the winner of the argument. And so I remember one day, because my mind would freeze up, I'd get so upset. So I remember one day sitting down, and every single time, so I started what I called a Michael's bad list. And I opened up the file cabinet, not the file cabinet, the spice cabinet, and I taped it on the spice cabinet, on the inside of the spice cabinet. And he never went in there, so I didn't think anything of it, at least I thought, and because he didn't cook. And so I taped it on the spice cabinet. I called it Michael's Bad List. And so I would, so every time he would do something that was bad, I would go and I'd write it down. And I remember one time he was like, he did something that was horrible. And I was like, hold on real quick. I ran in there and I wrote it down. He's like, what are you doing? And he walks in there and he sees me writing on. He goes, what is this? And I go, so every single time that we get into an argument, you always like tell me you have a whole list. You're keeping track of all my wrongs. And I always freeze up and I never have any comeback. So I decided that I'm going to make a list. So if I freeze up, I'll be able to grab the paper and I have ammunition to argue back. So the next time we got in a fight, he started in with his thing. We're talking about a $20 bill and we're arguing over the $20 bill. And I tried to keep him focused and I kept saying, okay, but let's go back to the $20 bill. He go, it's just like the last time you did that. And then you did that and you did that. And he was keeping a track of my wrongs. And I said, hold on. I ran into the kitchen and I grabbed the paper that said was my list of Michael's bad list. And I go, all right, I'm ready. I started listing off things and he busted out laughing so hard that we made up. And the argument was over because he thought it was so funny and he couldn't win. And because he was trying to manipulate the situation so he could get out of the thing he did that was bad. And so it was really hilarious, but I'm not saying that that's the right thing to do. I'm just telling you that you're not supposed to keep an account of the wrongs. So I'm going to stop for a second. Lit T, you said that's a hard one for me. So when you say that's a hard one for you, meaning that it would be hard for you if somebody started attacking you and saying, like my ex-husband and started saying, and you did this, and you did that, and you did this, or it's a hard one for you not to list the things that they've done in the past. Which one is it? I'm curious about that. So I'm going to take a drink while I'm waiting. I got these new bottles and they flip like this. And so every time I take a drink, it pokes me in the nose. Okay. So it's hard for you not to keep track. Okay. So yeah, that's something that you should take into consideration, because love doesn't keep track of all your wrongs. You know, people are people. People make mistakes. You make mistakes. We all make mistakes. Okay, and if somebody's keeping a track of all my wrongs, oh my God, holy cow, it would be a mile long. So when you're arguing about something, it needs to stay on track with what it is that you're trying to resolve. And you need to work through problem solving skills in the relationship to work through the problem instead of arguing back and forth, because remember, when you're trying to get a point across and he sees it from a whole different perspective and he's trying to get his point across, and each one is trying to convince the other of the other point, neither one of them are going to be able to see each other's point. Okay. So here's what I suggest. So you've got me facing this way. So all I can see is everything going this way. So he can't see behind him. Okay. And I can't see what he sees because he's looking this way and all he can see is that. Okay. So think about this for a second. What happens if you do this and you're standing behind that person, right? And you stand behind them and now you see it, you see what they see. And no matter where you turn, you can see what they see. And so if you see what they see and you're acknowledging that you see what they see, and guess what happens? You can slightly turn them so they can see what you see. And it's so much easier if you're working together and saying, oh, look, instead of this. And that way you don't have to keep a track. You're just helping the other person acknowledge them. So acknowledge what it is that they're saying. I hear that that this is going on, but what's really behind that? Like, tell me your perspective. Help me understand that. And then you go, okay, I get what you're saying. I understand how it makes you feel. And when you get from their perspective, it's so much easier to help them see your perspective, because once you acknowledge that person, they're going to be able to be willing to look at other things. But as long as you're going, but look at what I'm trying to say, and you're trying to force never wins anything, okay? And when you're keeping a list of wrongs, that's not going to fix anything. How's that going to win? Like, what? One's bullying the other over something? I mean, you don't win when you bully somebody. Okay, so let's go to the next one. Okay. All right. So the way that it's written is, it says it doesn't take pleasure in evil. Okay. And what that means is that it's like you don't take pleasure when they screw up. It's like, I told you you were going to screw up. I knew it. I was just waiting for you to fall. I knew you were going to do this. I knew it. Ha ha ha. I told you so. And what you're doing is you're taking pleasure in their demise. And that's not okay. And that's not being love. You guys say that you love somebody. What is love to you? Love is to you, if you're not behaving like that, you're not loving the person. What you're doing is not love. You have a feeling. Oh, but I feel it. No, that's chemicals. Okay. That's endorphins. That's not love. Okay. Love is when you allow the Christ consciousness to exist within your very being. And in that state, these are the things that you do. You do not seek pleasure in somebody's demise when they're screwing up. You don't go, I told you so. That's not love. You have a live? Oh, you mean on Facebook? Oh, that's right, because you do like your Facebook Live stuff. Okay. Just come back and watch the rest of it later. Don't worry about it, you guys. All right, so let's keep going. Oh, Sasha, and I'm so sorry I haven't had time to call you. I'm like crazy busy. Hey, Trisha, will you do me a favor and explain to her about what cutting the cords is? And because I was supposed to call her yesterday, and then I had to return like 3 other phone calls. So yeah, if you don't mind doing that because since I think you responded to her email and stuff, that would be great. Okay. Anyways, back to the drill sergeant Michelle over here. Okay. So what is love? Well, I told you what it's not. Okay. So love rejoices in truth. It bears all things. It believes in all things. It hopes for all things. It endures all things. Love never fails. So love rejoices in truth. What is truth? Truth is when you are just being you. It rejoices in you just being yourself. So a lot of times in relationships, we want to change the other person. We want to make them into something that we want them to be. You get into a relationship with somebody and you're like, I'm going to fix that boy, you know. He's too cute to let go of. Some other girl's going to get a hold of him, but I got to fix him. Okay? And so you're not allowing the person to sit in their truth. And so you're not rejoicing in their truth. Rejoicing in their truth is allowing a person just to be the person that they are. Let them be who they are. My husband is the total opposite of me. He's like, he looks like a biker, you know, he's got tattoos all over him and a bald head and a little goatee right here. And he's he's rough around the edges, and he likes guns, and he likes to go to the gun range and shoot guns and stuff like that. I mean, he's just a whole different person in a lot of ways, but in a lot of ways he's the same as me. We connect on different levels, not on his being. So I don't try to make him change. I don't go, we should really go and get those tattoos removed. We should do that. You need to get that done. So I'm not doing that to him. I'm not saying, because he thought for a long time he wasn't going to be able to get a job because he's got tattoos like right here on his neck, because everybody told him he wouldn't get a job because he had the tattoos, which isn't true. And I told him, I said, stop fucking believing what everybody says. You don't need to change yourself. You are who you are. Okay. And he did. And now, it's nobody's, half the time, they don't really care. They don't give a shit if he has a tattoo. Most of the time, these companies are out of state and they hire him and he doesn't even go into a physical interview. So they don't even know if he has tattoos. So love rejoices in truth. You allow the person just to be who they are and try to change them. Love bears all things. What does that mean? It means that it can handle anything. No matter how hard your struggles are, I think in the vows it says richer or poorer, till death do us part kind of thing. It's, the thing is what is, I have no idea what that word is. Shannon? Sandem fruit. I have no idea. Where did that come from? Oh, I always said it. Oh, Shannon is better than love sometimes. I who knows what he said. Oh, it's alcohol. Okay, he's being silly. Okay, so love fixes all things. I mean, now I'm listening to what he's saying. Love bears all things. So, Shane and I've gone through a lot of challenges, and in those challenges, I've cried. And in those challenges, he's cried. And I've sat down next to him saying, we're going to get through this. And the good thing is that if we can get through this, we can get through anything. And I'm not talking about a relationship issue. I'm talking about life and challenges that I came across it. And I've said, that together we support each other and we can get through anything. So, and that's true, is that love bears all things. It means you can get through anything together. Those challenges are nothing. And all it does is just make you stronger. It makes you realize those little things, those minor things, at the fact that, you forgot to make the bed or something, or he left the socks out, or he left the beer can out on the patio or something. And, those things, they go down to the wayside. Those things that seemed so important to you are so minimalistic to some of the other challenges that we face in life. Just being here on earth, just being in this meat suit, just being here is challenging. And so, like, through love, you can, in that partnership, you can bear all things. You can get through anything. And love believes in all things. It means there's always hope. There's always, we can do this together. We can make this happen. And I remember when we were first together, and I hadn't been in my business for very long, and he was still on Social Security. He was still disabled. And his ex-girlfriend still, he was stupid enough to he forgot to close the account. They had a joint account, and there was quite a bit of money in it. And she drained it. And he thought that she was going to leave a certain amount because she took everything else. And so he goes into his account, and all of a sudden he sees that it's negative, and he's got bills to pay and other things that came up, and he was freaking out. And I was barely making any money at the time. And I said, let's manifest it. Let's make this happen. And so I showed him how to manifest. He goes, well, I don't know how. And so I sat down with him and I showed him how to do it. And I remember when we did it, we like jumped up and down together, and and we believed that together that we could fix this problem. That was a big problem. He was negative in his account, and he had bills to pay, and here I was barely making any money, so I couldn't help him. So I was like, let's make this happen. And when we did, we were like so excited. We were like, oh my God, we're so powerful. We can make this happen. We did this. And we're like both jumping up and down going, oh my God, Love believes in all things. Love hopes for all things. It's like it always hopes. It always knows that there's something better coming, and that through the darkest days, through the hardest times, recently, Jane, this company he's been working for several years, they went through a slow peak, and he hadn't had any work. He didn't work for a month, and it was really challenging. And my daughter's wedding was coming up, and he ended up getting hired onto another company, and so he wasn't able to go, on the trip with me, and it was very upsetting to me, but I, in the process of all of this, I just kept up the hope. I kept up the hope that everything was going to work out, that he was going to get another job, that everything was going to end up being okay. And we had just bought a new home, and everything was just like, oh my God, and he's like, what are we going to do? And I was like, we're just going to believe, and we're going to make it happen. We're going to get in there, and we're going to bust ass, and you're going to get in there online, and you're going to make it a full-time job to find that you're going to apply for every PI firm that posts, and you're going to get, plenty of work. And now he's got more work than he knows what to do with. So it's love bears all things, believes in all things, hopes for all things, and endures all things. So love, you can do it all. A lot of times when we go through struggles in our life, what ends up happening is instead of being there for each other, instead of supporting each other, instead of helping the other person get through these trying times, we end up criticizing them. You're not doing enough. You're not doing this. I'm carrying the load. But in reality, the bottom line is love never fails. If you are acting loving, if you're being love, if you are living in the essence of love, it won't ever fail you. Love never fails. What fails is greed, pride, boastfulness, envy, self-seeking, anger, keeping account of somebody's wrongs, getting pleasure when they screw up. Yeah, that's going to cause love to fail. That's what's going to cause relationships to fail. Okay. Let's see what everybody's saying. Who is being serious? Hold on. Okay. Let's see. Okay, hold on. There's a lot of stuff going on here. I'm just trying to figure out. Okay. I would guess the same to Trisha G. Expect a serious comment from you. Okay, that was from Shannon. He has moments of being serious. He is a very smart man, Shannon King. Oh, you're talking about, he's a very smart man. I just talked to him last night. I'm really impressed at how smart he is. He's got a lot of business ideas coming up here that he's looking into. Okay. Okay, all right. Okay, so anyways, all All right, so back to this thing. So basically I've kind of covered everything. This is my thing on love today, and using some of the elements that's in the Bible, Corinthians 13. And, you know, it's my favorite passage. There's a passage after that I'm not that crazy about, but this part I like. And, you know, I think Jeff says that there's done, and what does he say? There's, anyway, it's something like part of the Bible's really good and part of it's kind of just like you just have to ignore it. This is a really good one. And I feel like that it says everything that you need to know about love. Everything that you need. If you can just follow this, you don't need anything else. And that's the bottom line. Be patient, be kind, don't envy, don't boast, don't be proud, don't be rude, don't be self-seeking, don't keep accounts of somebody's wrongs, don't take pleasure when they screw up, and rejoice in somebody's truth. In other words, love who they are as a person. Like when they're just being themselves, when they're really themselves, like, you know, like Shane's going to the gun thing or whatever, playing. He loves to play games. So like he'll play horseshoes or whatever. When he's actually being himself, when he's really just being completely authentic, I rejoice in that. And I make him feel happy that he gets to sit in his truth and he gets to be himself. Like the last thing I want to do is alter him. You know, I want him to be him. And then remember, love bears all things, believes in all things, hopes all things, endures all things. Love never fails. Okay, let's see what anybody else is saying. All right, so I think that guys are so silly. I hope that you guys, you know, I hope that you actually come to listen to me instead of just coming to the chat room to be silly. But then again, what am I doing? I'm being self-centered. I apologize. That was wrong. I shouldn't have said that. Anyways, y'all do make me laugh. So I do honor the fact that you are actually here and that you're working on your own truth. So hopefully this helped. And I am actually communicating with two people right now. So Tricia and I are communicating with Travis Thorpe, who is a high priest, and he's a high priest in a Wicca, and he's a really interesting person. And so we're negotiating a topic, and we're actually talking about doing a show on sexual magic. So when you see that there's Travis Thorpe, you have got to watch it because it is going to be so good that you're going to absolutely love it. He suggested that we bring Jeff in because Jeff just called him last week and said, hey, let's do a show on sex magic. And I was like, you've got to be kidding me. And so he's like, let's do it all together then. And, you know, see, that's a good person. He doesn't pick sides. He says, you know what, y'all all want to do it, so let's just do it all together. And I thought, you know what, that's awesome. So I liked it and I was all for it, and Trish agreed to it. So hopefully we can nail a date down. And yeah, Wicca, he's a high priest too. So it's not just a priest, he's a high priest. So it's going to be fun. And just spoke to a guy today who is a paranormal specialist. He's a renowned psychic that he had millions of followers on a syndicated show, and he was on two of the top radio shows that was rated #1, millions of followers and stuff. He doesn't have the radio show anymore, but he's one of the #1 psychics in the world. I mean, well, at least in the US. And anyway, I just spoke with him today, and he's willing to do a show with us. So whether we do it with Trisha or we do it, if Trisha agrees, I just sent her a message about it. So yeah, he's a very interesting guy. So anyways, yeah, so if we do this, we'll probably do it together. Or, you know, whatever, it doesn't matter, whatever she agrees to. So, but I am definitely going to bring him on as well. So we've got a couple of really good guest speakers. And so if you see his name is, oh Lord, I cannot believe that I totally forgot. Hold on. Give me a second. I know he calls himself CC George on Facebook. So let me see. And it was a really funny conversation because he is, you know, I'm a psychic, and I go, no, that's why I'm actually communicating with you. His name is Chris George. He's a psychic medium. Anyways, he's really funny, and really can be kind of hilarious and out there. So he's done paranormal investigations, and he's a psychic medium, and he does channeling, but he does like some channeling where they like speak the room and stuff. So it's really interesting. Real profound psychic. And so I just thought a really interesting person. I had a little conversation with him today. So that is what's going to be coming up. I haven't nailed dates down with either of these speakers. So we're definitely looking into that. And anyway, so this is some of the things that are upcoming for you guys. So once if I nail down one of those things, I might skip on a couple of things that I'm doing. So we'll see. It just depends on the dates and how we're doing it. So if we decide to do this with Jeff, that's depending on if Jeff's willing. He's still waiting on that answer. And if we can nail a date down. So if we decide to do that, then that's going to be even funner. So we'll probably do it on Jeff's channel because he has a bigger following. So I will definitely make announcements as soon as I find out. And I'm sure Trish will as well. So once we get everything nailed down, we'll let you guys know, and it'll be super fun. You're so funny. All right. Okay, you guys. I'm going to exit this place, and I will chat with you later because I've got to have a conversation with Trish and go look at that chat that her and Travis were having. So anyway, those are the two names that you want to look forward to hearing is Chris George and Travis Thorpe. We will be coming on our show shortly. Not sure exactly when. So again, make sure that you look out for that. It's going to be an amazing show. And we will talk to you later. Y'all have a fabulous, fabulous, fabulous day. And I guess that's it. Everybody, see you later. Exit stage left. All right. Bye, you guys.